The Yaesu FT-817 is a great little radio that I use all the time. But after years of use, the display on the radio has gradually lost brightness and contrast, making it very difficult to see. Menu options in the radio allow you to select a blue or orange display. On my radio, the blue color had dimmed so much that it was not useful, and the orange display was not much better. I decided to replace the display LED with brilliant white LEDs. What you are looking at is the result of this modification. The display is so much better and is a lot easier to see both day and night. It is not a particularly difficult modification to make, but it does require care and the ability to work with surface mount devices. Both the old LEDs and the new ones are SMD devices. I used a SMD hot air station to remove the original LEDs and careful hand soldering to install the new ones. Hand soldering of the new LEDs is pretty easy because they are quite large as SMDs go. Hand soldering is recommended because the new LEDs have a plastic lens that can distort when subjected to the hot air temperatures needed to solder them. I hate to add a disclaimer, but I will make it quick and add one anyway. Do this modification entirely at your own risk to yourself and your radio. I am not responsible if you follow these instructions and ruin yourself, your radio, or others in the process. The radio needs to be partially disassembled in order to access the front circuit board where the LEDs are located. Disconnect all cables and power. Then open the door on the bottom of the radio and remove the battery pack. Remove the case screws. There are 2 on the back, 2 on the top and bottom, and 4 on each side. Take note that some of these screws are padhead and others are tapered for countersinking. Don't forget to remove the small screw that attaches the battery door latch. Note the orientation of this part as you remove it. Remove the top cover and unplug the speaker connector from the circuit board. Remove the bottom cover and set them both aside. The front panel assembly now needs to be removed. A ribbon connector located on the front left side of the top circuit board connects the top board to the front panel. Use a small flathead screwdriver to carefully lift the locking bar of the connector to release the ribbon cable and slide it free. The plastic housing of the front panel assembly is held to the main frame of the radio by plastic tabs that slip over nubs on the frame. The tabs are fragile. Release the front panel assembly from the frame by lifting each tab just enough to release it from the nub. There are 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. Once the front panel assembly is completely free from the radio, remove the selector, main, and volume/squelch knobs. Remove the nut and lock washer behind the main knob. Then remove the shaft nut from behind the volume/squelch control using a small spanner wrench. The plastic housing of the front panel assembly can now be removed to expose the front circuit board. Gently remove the board from the housing. It is a close tolerance fit, so this must be done slowly and carefully. The LCD holder must be removed next. The LCD holder is held in place by the holder plate and 2 screws. Remove the 2 screws from the holder plate and remove the holder plate from the LCD holder. The LCD holder can now be removed by sliding it downward a couple millimeters to release its bottom edge clips from the circuit board and then lifting it free. Allow the LCD unit and its ribbon connector to slide out of the LCD holder. Do not touch or bend the LCD unit or ribbon cable any more than necessary. This completes disassembly. We'll now identify the LEDs to be removed. This is a picture of the front left side of the front panel circuit board. The large square component marked S4001 is the selector knob encoder. Just off the upper right of S4001 lies a vertical string of diodes. These are the LEDs that are used to illuminate the display. The diodes marked D4013 and D4004 are the orange LEDs. The blue LEDs, which we will be removing, are D4005 and D4012. The notched corner of D4005 and D4012 mark the anode, plus side of the LED. This set of 4 LEDs sit in a channel under the left edge of the LCD holder assembly. The light from the LEDs shines up into the channel, and then is distributed across the LCD via the light guide. We now remove the old LEDs starting with D4005. Use the red marker and place a dot on the circuit board indicating the plus side of D4005 and D4012. Cut a square of aluminium about 6 centimeters square and in its center cut out a hole just big enough to expose D4005 and its solder pads. Position the mask with a hole directly over D4005 and secure it in place by folding it over components or using tape to prevent movement when using the hot air tool. Avoid overheating, and be careful not to expose adjacent components to excessive heat. Keep all heat away from the LCD screen and its ribbon connector. Heat D4005 using a hot air station and remove the old LED. Let the board cool and then remove LED D4012 using a similar procedure. The original blue LEDs are part number LNJ951C4 BRA. Examination of the data sheet for this LED shows typical operating parameters of 3.2 volts at 5 mA with a brightness of 9 millicandelas. The part has been obsolete for a long time and not readily available. Using the search capabilities of electronic component supplier Digi-Key, www.digi-key.com, a suitable replacement LED in white was located. One suitable Digi-Key white LED of high brightness is part number 599-2500-127F. This LED operates with a forward voltage of 3.2 volts, low current, and with a minimum brightness of over 400 millicandelas has excellent brightness. They fit perfectly on the solder pads of the circuit board where the old diodes were removed. These LEDs are inexpensive. As of July 2023, 10 of these LEDs are only $3.30. Prepare the circuit board and install the new LEDs following these guidelines. Use small solder wick and clean up the pads where the LEDs were removed. The new LEDs should lay flat on the circuit board so they shine straight up into the light guide that will be reinstalled. They should not be crooked but should be lined up and symmetric with their solder pads. This will ensure that they fit properly into the light channel on the underside of the LCD holder. Verify correct polarity before soldering. The new LEDs have a symbol on the back side of them that looks like a T. The top of the T is the plus side or anode. The trunk of the T is the cathode, minus side. The LEDs must be installed with the T symbol back facing the board and the lens of the LED facing up away from the board. Apply a very small amount of solder paste to each LED pad on the circuit board. Place the LED, being careful of polarity, onto the appropriate pads and press down gently. Center the diode on its pads and alight it carefully. Verify the polarity. Notice that D4005 and D4012 are oriented in opposite directions. Touch the tin tip of a very small chisel-tipped soldering iron to one pad and tack the SMD down. Then flow the other end. Finally, reflow each side to ensure proper seating. To avoid distorting or melting the lens, do not overheat. Install one of the white LEDs in both the D4012 and D4005 locations. You can test them once they are installed by briefly applying a couple volts and limiting current to about 8 milliamps. They should flash very brightly. If they do, you can reassemble the radio in the reverse order of disassembly. When the radio has been reassembled, power and antenna connections can be re-established and it can be powered up for use. Hold the F button on the front of the radio for 2 seconds and go to menu 15. Rotating the main knob will now change the color of the display to either original orange or the new, bright white. Adjust contrast as desired using menu 16. Finally, press F for 2 seconds to save the changes and return to the main display. 73. Mic, AK3F.